Your video tends to get a lot viral in WhatsApp groups of students.
Yes. In fact, it was not a video of role play, it was meme of the role play that I was doing. One is this kind of spin, the other is this kind of spin, and they neutralize and keep the word neutral.
Part 2 will be about your class on science and spirituality.
Yes. Yeah, that is something which is peculiar about my every class that I take.
Out of all the classes which I have attended, right, his was the most interesting one, I say.
My teaching philosophy is that teaching is an investment, not money wise, but intellectual and knowledge wise, and it comes back to you.
Hello everyone, how are you all? My name is Bhavishya Singla and welcome back to yet another episode of Mindscape Expansion. Today we have Dr. Manmohan Chibber with us here, also known as MNC Sir. And I'm extremely delighted to have you as a guest on this show, sir.
Thank you, Bhavishya. This is my first podcast ever, and I hope this will be a great experience. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast and the initiative. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Sir has been my teacher during my first year in college, and out of all the classes which I have attended, right, his was the most interesting one, I say. You will get to know that as we move along the episode, why his classes are so interesting, right? So I want to divide this podcast into 3 parts. The first part will be about how you are as a teacher. How do you teach? What is your methodology? How you make classes so interesting, right? Part 2 will be about your class on science and spirituality.
Yes, yeah, that is something which is peculiar about my every class that I take. Yeah, that would be nice to talk about.
Definitely. And part 3 will be about how you are as a man behind the professor. What are your hobbies and what do you do in your leisure time?
That would be very interesting to share also. Considering that this is my first experience, this is going to be a great podcast. For me, about your audience, I'm not sure. That only audience will tell.
So let's get started with part 1 about your teaching philosophy.
Okay. Yeah. Way back in 2007, when I started my formal teaching life, teaching philosophy may have been there, but it was not so popular in higher education institutes. Now it is becoming more and more popular in higher education institutes. Even the new faculty members who appear for interview, they are asked the question that what is your teaching philosophy? So I had not a formal teaching philosophy by the name of teaching philosophy right at that time. Sort of, I framed the teaching philosophy, and my teaching philosophy is that teaching is an investment, not money wise, but intellectual and knowledge wise. You invest knowledge in the students, and you take full responsibility and full moral responsibility of investing knowledge into your students, and it comes back to you as a return because you are in the community of students. They are the future of the world. They know they are going to control the world. So I know that which direction the world is moving. Perhaps, that is the return you get, and to keep pace with the changing world with the age, and I find it really, really worth it.
Alright, so basically you formed your own philosophy through years of experience. Or you had something in mind like when you started teaching.
Let me put it like that the teaching philosophy was always there, but the teaching philosophy keeps on evolving with the time and experience and the changing world. So that's what I have done. I have evolved. The teaching philosophy was always in place. I think for every teacher that's in the place, but it keeps evolving with the time. So that's what I have done.
So you make classes very interesting, right? So
Thank you for that.
how do you do it?
I make my classes interesting, and first of all, thank you for saying that my classes are interesting. This is first time someone is online or on the records. It's going on. How do I do it? There are 3-4 ways I always, and this has been because of my interaction with how one of the best teachers who have taught me. One is connection to the real life experiences or real life examples. So in my class, I make sure that I connect my topic to the real life examples. This is first thing that I do. And the second thing is that I lot of role plays, acting, voice modulation in the class to put stress on certain points that are very important and students should perceive with that much of importance in the class. So this is second part. So in my student days I was a good actor, so I use all that expertise to do that.
I will definitely attach a video of us doing role play.
Yes. And the third thing, yes, that's the role play. Role play is very important because I feel that, when we are students of science and engineering, and science and engineering exists in three-dimensional world. If there is an atom, the electron is not revolving like this, it's actually revolving like all that. And what we study actually in the two dimensions, that is on a page or on a board or on a screen, right? So what happens is that there is a lack of visualization amongst the students. So I do role plays in the class to make students visualize, and that makes the class interesting. Yeah, you have that video of our class, because I don't stop students from making videos. But of late, I have started doing one thing. I have asked the students that, you can make the video from my side. You have the permission to circulate it, but you need to seek permission from the person who is doing role play along with me, just to keep the ethics at right place. You cannot take someone's video and circulate it without that person's permission. So I give permission on my behalf, but the other person, so some of the videos go back. Some of the mobile phones get down, but then some of them are still there. So that happens.
Your video tends to get a lot viral in WhatsApp groups of students.
Yes. In fact, once what happened that a student called me up and told me that, sir, I'm not liking it. One of your video is getting viral, and it was not a video of role play. It was meme of the role play that I was doing. And this was during the COVID time when I used to take classes in the Zoom call. Yeah. And he said that, sir, I'm feeling so embarrassed. These guys are circulating, my juniors are circulating this video, and this has come to me. So I said that, send me that video first. I want to see that me. And it was very interesting. It was an interesting where I was actually in the class showing students and that how do molecules vibrate. I was doing like this, and I was telling like this that, the molecules are vibrating like this. And this student, whosoever that student was, what he did, he asked me, sir, I did not get that topic. Can you repeat it again? So, he actually screen recorded it, and then he made a song at the back. And then I sent that message to the student. Don't feel bad about it. I am not feeling bad that someone is making my meme. In fact, he is making me more popular. People will ask me. I'll tell them the concept of IR vibrations. So he was a bit pacified. But this happens. And in my earlier days, one of my mentors told me that if you are a student, if you are a teacher, students are going to have your name, students are going to make your memes, students are going to do all kind of mischief, and this comes with a career of a teacher. Accept it as an honor. So that's it. That's the philosophy that I had framed at that time.
So shall we concise it into parts?
Let me summarize it. One, that teaching is an investment. This is number one. That it's not that I am teaching my students. I also learn from my students, and that helps me keep pace with the world and changing technology. So this is first part. Second is, whenever you are teaching, for example, I teach a subject called chemistry, which many of the students find boring if I will not connect it to the real life world. So in my class, I actually connect it to real life examples and sometimes to life and its problem solves. So this is second thing. And third thing is that make students visualize that, okay, this is how the molecule or the concept that you are teaching looks like. And fourth one is, being this we have not discussed, but I'll share it here, is making an informal class, making the class informal. Talk to students informally. You should not be a teacher with, these glasses and you are teaching on the board and finishing it off and going at the class. Make it informal. That informality actually connects with the heart of the students, and students are come back to you with the problems they have faced. They can be very frank. Sometimes some students come to me with the life issues that, sir, I am not able to prepare, get marks. Can you give me some way that I will get marks and all? So that kind of issues also students come to me.
I am intrigued about one thing. Can you share one real life example? As you said that you sometimes relate your concepts to real world problems as well. Can you example about that?
Yeah, this will be a bit technical, right? Going to take an example of real life. So, we all know that one particular orbital contains two electrons with opposite spin. Right? One electron is moving like this, whereas other is moving in the opposite direction, right? So this is normally the real life atoms. And I say that this is why this is happening. Why? Because if an electron is a charged body, if it is moving in one direction, then actually it will have higher energy, right? To neutralize it, it has to have an electron which is neutralizing its negative or positive energy, right? And that's why they are both are there, and it becomes the overall energy of the orbital becomes zero, right? Now, how I will relate it to the real life world is that in this world, you will find good things. They are there, right? And sometimes good happens to you, you feel elevated. Sometimes bad happens to you, or there are bad things in this world. So, so one is this kind of spin, the other is this kind of spin, and they neutralize and keep the word neutral. Same is true in the real life world, that there are good things, there are bad things, the good things can happen to you, bad things can happen to you. Don't get upset by that, because this is what the real world is, and this is what the, at atomic level the world looks like. So this is one example that I give in the class.
When you earlier said the spin and all,
Yes.
it got very technical, but when you started relating it with a real life example, it got very interesting.
Yes.
Got it. All right. And as you do so much, right? Role plays, you take real life examples and all. So when you are taking class, doesn't the syllabus left behind?
Yes, that is one of the challenges of being a teacher who tries to take students along, because students will ask you questions, so your time gets lagged. Sometimes student will ask you question that tells me that I need to make students understand a background concept behind it. So yes, definitely the syllabus gets lagged behind due to that, but that's what it is. But my philosophy is that what is worth doing is worth doing well. One of my geography teachers during school time has written on the board, what is worth doing is worth doing well. So using that philosophy, I see that, even if my syllabus lags behind, but whatever students are understanding, they should understand it very clearly. And there may be small portion, that I have to run through during the end of the semester. That happens. That have to. So, you have a choice. Run through the entire syllabus and complete the syllabus, or whatever students you are teaching, teach that very nicely so that students understand. And then small portion which will be lagging behind, run through that. At least some part students will be able to understand. So I openly say that I know this.
That's a great quality though.
I don't know, this is great quality. I don't know educational institutes will accept this philosophy, or it will tell the philosophy that no, you complete the syllabus. So, but then, teacher has the freedom to how the class runs, how his or her class runs.
From the student perspective, it is great. And I really appreciate it. And I'm sure your past students also appreciate that.
Thank you for that. And in fact, I feel that I feel like that. Since I am involved in a course that is taught by 11 faculty members simultaneously to around 1600 students, I personally take a class of around 150 to 250 students. So it becomes actually very challenging to cope up with the pace of my colleagues, because at some point of time I am under tremendous pressure because they have moved ahead in the syllabus. Obviously, they are very good teachers and they have this quality of teaching the class and also taking making students understand, but I go by my own way. Here, this is one area where I have not updated myself from the younger generation.
All right. So now from the perspective of a teacher, student who wants to become a teacher.
Okay.
He or she wants to make classes engaging. Like you have provided us with 3-4 points earlier.
Yeah.
But what else do you do to make it interesting? Like I'm sure you made animations during slides.
Yes.
And you do many tricks to make students engage.
Yes.
So can you please share that so that they can help?
Yes, one I have already told. Your facial expressions, eye contact with your students, and voice modulation is one. Second is, since nowadays when you are on board, you are putting up the content that is required for the students only. But when you are making PowerPoint slides, then I make sure that I introduce lot of animation to make students understand that how this concept is coming. So what is the advantage of animation? I have two ways. One way is that you put the entire content on your PPT and then teach the students and make students understand. So now in this, what happens is that some students who know the one concept, they will be reading the next line where I have not reached in my narration. So they either are ahead of me or they are lagging behind. But what I do is I actually make animations in such a way that on the screen only that portion will come which I want to discuss. I'll discuss that nicely, and then on the next click, next thing will come, and then on the next click, next thing will come, and I'll keep discussing. So that way I have control over the mind of my audience. You know, my students, sometimes when you are giving lecture in some conference, there also I have the mind of my audience in my control, and I can take them along with me. So that's one of the PowerPoint slides. This is one. Second thing that you asked me is very important, and it actually I learned it very early in my life, that there are always in a class of around 20 students or in a class of around 100 students, there may be students who may mischief you, who may disrespect you, who may even, tease you by their questions, by their manners, by passing on the comments when your face is towards the board. This normally happens. This is quite expected, and a teacher has to face this. I have made sure that in the class, I'll point them out and I'll tell them that please don't do this, not particularly to that student, but in fact, I'll ask that student in the class, can you meet me after the class? And after the class, when that student comes, I tell that person that, see, I don't want to embarrass you in the class. That's why I have called you personally at the end of my class. I don't have a good impression about you. Please improve your impression. The student may say that, sir, I have not done it. The guy in the next seat has done it. I tell that still, I am not suspecting that next guy. I'm suspecting you. That means your impression is bad. I don't want that, I should be punishing you for having a bad impression about you for the things that you have not done. Please change this impression. First, change your seat from the guy who was sitting next to you. Tell him that he should not be doing this into my class again. This is one thing. And second thing, some people have a tendency that this guy has disrespected me and I'm going to, make his life hell, and then they will have an ego against that student throughout their life, or sometime throughout their tenure on the campus or throughout the semester. These kinds of things do happen. I made a resolution right in the first year of my teaching, and I'm not going to do this. A student is a student, right? And there are all kind of students in the class. If I do that, if I'll have, this kind of ego that this guy has respected me and disrespected me, and I'm going to make his life hell, then I'll in fact make my life hell. Because, what will happen? In every semester, you have even 2 students like that. By now, I have 18 years of teaching experience. I'll be after somewhere around 35 to 36 people whom I have great grudges and spending energy that how can that student do that to me? I have made this quite resolution quite early in my life, and I have not faced any student who has disrespected me. Even if the student has disrespected me, I have ignored it, and sometimes the student comes back and tells, I'm sorry, sir, I should not have done that. It has happened to me so many times. In fact, I do warn them after the class that I did not like this. Please don't do it in the class. We are into serious business of teaching. So nothing. The student himself or herself comes back to me and tells he's sorry, and and I find that some of them are big officers now with multinational companies, with government of India. Some of them are very big officers.
So to summarize all of this, for a new teacher who wants to teach, your advice was, I'll start from the last one. Don't to hold any ego against any student.
That's very important.
Right? And also to make classes interesting, you use animations.
Yes, make your presentation very nicely, keeping students' perspective into your mind.
And the third and the last thing was
Role plays, voice modulation, acting.
started with part 2, which is your lecture on science and spirituality.
Yes.
It was the most unique lecture which I have ever listened to.
In your class, I gave a special separate lecture on science and spirituality, is it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that used to happen in good old times. I actually end up completing the syllabus, so I don't take a entirely different lecture. I have embedded spirituality into my chemistry classes nowadays. Yeah.
Earlier, when you used to start the class during the first class of the semester, you used to take class on science and
No, I used to take a class that I take as on date also, and this looks very controversial in India. My first class to engineering students is always that why engineers should study biology besides studying physics, chemistry, and mathematics. So this is my first class always.
Shall we elaborate on that?
If you want, you can do that. We can elaborate slightly on that. But it's actually a very engaging class in which I put up questions, I put up concepts, student question me, in fact, bombard me with their thought process, and then I try to justify my thought process. But at the end of it, I feel that all students are convinced, all engineering students, all engineering first year students are convinced that biology cannot be left behind for engineers.
Can you give us
An example?
Yes.
Yeah. So, one of the very good examples is that there is a very common thing called glucometer, which measures glucose in the blood, right? Earlier, it used to be, chemistry or biochemistry kind of thing. You will give blood, then it will go to lab will test it, and then will give you report, right? But now we have glucometer, which you can carry in your pocket and which you can not only carry in the pocket, but also take along. And let us suppose that you are going for a conference or a meeting and you have checked in the airport, right? You have checked in the airport. After security check, you are sitting there and you feel that I have a problem, like I'm feeling uneasy, or I have certain, maybe the sugar level is more or sugar level is less. This is for people who have diabetic conditions, not for everyone, right? This is a diabetic young person has crossed the security check, and then he finds that he is feeling uneasy, maybe his sugar level is less or more, and he needs to take the pill. But before that, that person needs to check his glucose, sugar level in the blood. Now we have a glucometer, right? You take out a strip, punch a small hole into your skin, and the blood drop comes out. You put it on the that strip, and then put that strip into this glucometer, and that will tell you the sugar level. He sees that, okay, I have a sugar level which is low. Then he'll take out a candy from his pocket and eat it, and the sugar level will become normal. Now my question is, who made this glucometer? Is it the doctor who made this glucometer or an engineer? Right. So, would you like to use a glucometer that has been designed by an engineer who does not like biology? So, if you say that this glucometer is one of the highest selling monitoring instruments, and now there are chips coming up where people put up chips here and they are moving around. Now, without knowledge of biology. Would you like to use that chip or glucometer without the knowledge designed by an engineer who never liked biology?
Definitely not.
So this is one small thing that I have with the students, and more or less, other than anything else, they are satisfied that yes, engineers should be open-minded to biology. Mind you, I don't tell them that you should study biology. I tell them that when biology comes, you should have an open mind. In India, most of the engineers have a closed mind. The moment biology comes, engineers shut their mind because this is biology, I'm not going to understand that. So this class is that they should have an open mind towards biology, so that if required, they should be able to study biology.
Now, into the science and spirituality. So, why do you design this class first of all? What was your thought process behind this?
The thought process behind this thing has not come to me from the classes, but thing has come to me from my spiritual angle. Since I am a man of science, I practice science, I do experiments, I try to relate every concept with the scientific principles. So when I visit some religious places, sit in some religious ceremonies, or talk about religion, and I deep think about it, the why this thing is being done, I actually relate it to science and where the spirituality comes. And then I also try to find out that other than my religion, what are the practices being followed in other religions? And I find that more or less the practices are same. Only thing is that the way of execution may be different, or one is working on one concept, the other is working on another concept. But the basic principle behind all of them is science. So that's where the spirituality comes. So what I thought that in my class, let me relate it to the principles of science be related to principles of spirituality. This is one thing. And the second thing is that when I was of your age or my son's age, who is in right now in class 12th and another one is in class 6th. So the elder one, obviously at your age, people question the religious practices or the practices being followed in the society. I was also the same. Right, that has to be there because that brings in the independent thought process.
Are there any examples which you take in your class?
Okay, there are many examples that I take in my class. One, this thing I have told you that the word is good, the word is bad, and the good and bad related to the electron spin in the positive direction and in the negative direction, and then it remains balanced. This is one example. Beer-Lambert law is another example which I normally take in my class. So Beer-Lambert law is a very simple concept. What is the concept? That if light is passing through a medium, right, the transmitted light, the light which comes out from the medium, depends upon two factors. One, the thickness of this medium, how thick the medium is, right? If the thickness of the medium is more, the light on the other side will come less. And if the thickness is less, then the light which will come will be comparatively more, right? As compared to the previous one when the thickness was, right? The other thing that it depends upon is that what is the concentration of the solution inside this thickness, right? If the solution inside this thickness is less concentrated, more light will be transmitted, and if the concentration of this medium is more, less light will be transmitted.
Yes.
Common sense, right? Such a common sense. Although the Beer-Lambert law, Lambert discovered this law only in context of thickness, and he gave a mathematical expression for that. That was there. Now, this Lambert discovered this law sometime in 1762, perhaps, right? He gave this law in 1762. And almost 100 years after this, Beer gave the law of concentration and he gave the mathematical expression. And now this Beer-Lambert law is a combined mathematical expression of Lambert and Beer, right? And this is a mathematical expression, and this is used almost everywhere to find the thickness of the tunnel, to find the concentration of a protein, right? For everywhere, wherever the spectroscopy is used, this law is used, right? Imagine how much was the difference between the discovery of Lambert and Beer 100 years. Such a common sense thing, and the difference was 100 years. That means human beings for generations, in 100 years, generations will pass, right? Human beings were not aware that the light which is coming out is also dependent upon concentration. And, and there was no mathematical expression for that. So that's why I say that, we are very proud of our science today, right? Our science makes us fly with all the weight into the air from one corner of the earth to the another corner of the earth. Science is making this podcast reaching out to you. Science is all about finding out that what's on the Mars, right? What are the elements present on the Mars? But when it comes to spirituality, we say this is not possible, right? But the fact is, even today's science is, how old is today's science? I said that 1762, Lambert discovered this law. You consider that today's science maybe another 200 years back may have started, that we are here today, right? So, but even if our today's science started, let's say around 500 years back, so, from 1500 or 1100 onwards, right? Then obviously this science is very young and it needs to be explored further. And that we will be able to explore only if we will believe in our spiritual practices, because they were scientific. And that's the reason that, I bring spirituality, just to have an open mind and independent thought process.
I got a question. Spirituality was scientific. Can you explore that further?
Spirituality is scientific. I can explore it further. I have examples and examples for this. I'll give you a very simple example that as per nature, in the nature we have all the elements which create, which nurture, and which destroy, right? We have in nature a plant which will grow from a seed, right? And it will become a huge plant, will nurture. It will not only grow itself, the earth will give it all the constituents, minerals, nutrients, carbon dioxide, sun energy, and then it will not only do that, it will even actually nurture the entire world. Birds will see it, you'll get fruit from it, you'll get medicines from this, natural medicines, right? All kind of naturopathy will be originate there. And then at one point of time, the leaves will come down, the fruits will come down, and then they will degrade. The enzymes or the bacteria present on earth will degrade it. So, in nature, we have the creator, we have the nurturer, and we have the destroyer, right? So this is all about spirituality. I'm not talking about any religion. I can take religious examples also, but I don't want to bring religion into it. This is what the nature is. Now think what we have done. There is a lot of word that there are polymers. Microplastics are part of our water system. They are in sea, they are in groundwater. Why the microplastics have come? Because perhaps we have not understood the nature. We have designed the polymers and we are the ones who have nurtured it by creating them, different kind of polymers. I don't know how many polymers we have on this earth, right? Then since we are using them, by using them, we are nurturing them, because when we use them, they get consumed. More of the polymers from the industry comes and that we keep on using it. So, users are the nurturers. But one thing that we have missed is the destroyer part. When we designed polymers, we did not think that the polymers should get destroyed. And now, over so many years, maybe the first polymer may have come in somewhere around 90s or so, right? So 75 years, look, we have microplastics, and there is a research and a lot of funding going on to detect microplastics and how to eliminate them, because we did not take care of spirituality part, that everything that gets created should be destroyed. This is one example.
It is an interesting example, really, and an eye-opening one.
Another example I can tell you is that normally with the this thing called movement of electrons. I'm again coming to movement of electrons. If you go to this website called Flight Radar.
Flight radar.
Radar, right? Radar, flight radar. If you come to, you just see, Earth all occupied by planes all over the earth moving around in different directions, right? But this is actually a man-made system. It's a very stringent process. There is an ATC which is controlling this flight of each of the plane that is moving on this earth surface.
Yes.
Right? There is a called ATC. So ATC is very stringent. ATC is very clear that go to taxi to runway, it will reach the runway, then it will tell that take to runway. I'm not sure about them because I have not seen this, but I'm sure that this is the system. Then it goes to runway, ready for takeoff, and then it will give a direction that, okay, you take off, the person will take off, then it will give a direction that you acquire this much height at this much speed, take this direction. This is human controlled way. And still, sometimes, once in so many years, perhaps at the beginning of this year, after so many years, I heard the news that the two planes crashed in each other. Sometime in somewhere in US, where a helicopter perhaps crashed into an aircraft. But that was one of the rare events, right? Now, this is something human controlled, right? But do you understand? There is a system where in a entity which is not visible to our eyes, hundreds of electrons are moving around and they are not being controlled by any ATC, right? And they are not moving in one direction. If all are moving in one direction, the life would have been easy. One is moving in this direction, the other is moving in this direction. Now, my question is, who is their ATC? Obviously, nature is the ATC and forces which are controlling it. Obviously, the scientific solution will be that there is a nucleus which has protons, which is a positive charge, and there is an electron, right? And this electron is moving around. And my question is, why doesn't it go and fall into this? Because this electron has its own gravity, proton has its own gravity, both reach the minimum of that. But the interesting thing is they don't collide. And if they collide, we have not discovered as of now any process where they collide and any phenomena that is occurring out of it. So, science is yet to be explored further. So, I have related it to ATC and what forces are there. I may say that, there are gravitational forces, but, who created that? That's what the nature is all about.
Interesting examples.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's get started with three. What you are as a man behind professor. What are your hobbies and what do you do in your leisure time?
Okay, so this is for the information of all. This is the man behind the professor. Well, I have a lot of hobbies. One of the hobbies is that I love taking care of small plants at my backyard. I have a lovely green garden where I spend time almost every day in the morning. They are all my kids. All my plants are my kids, and I take care. And it's a great learning experience also because it tells me that okay, the season is changing. This plant is getting its leaves yellow. I should change its position because sun is coming up and all. It's a great learning experience. And I actually, my meditation is gardening. I don't meditate formally, but when I go to my garden on Sundays, every day I go and spend some half an hour to 45 minutes into my garden, taking care of my plants, putting up new plants in the flower pots and all. But on Sundays, I spend a lot of time, and that's the time when I forget myself. I am with the garden and myself. That's my meditation.
So, like, you're very much interested into gardening.
Yes.
I think I have heard something like all the gardeners in our institute, they call you head mali at all.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. It happened that, on the campus where I stay, there was a park being made, and they were all doing that, putting up the plants and putting up the grass there. And I was doing my gardening on my part, and then they saw, and then they just joked around that, see, he's our head mali. So that was good. That was good to see. Yeah, that's again a designation I accept. Okay, head mali.
What else about other than gardening? How is the day-to-day life?
Okay. One of the good things that I like to do is interact with people. I normally interact with people and try to, being a teacher is a great opportunity to interact with my students and understand life from different perspectives. So if a student, I'll see one of my students walking or sitting very sadly, I'll just and start a conversation. Everything is all right. What happened? If he wants some kind of motivation or some good words that I'm good in, so I normally give them experiences from my life, from others' life, and try to motivate the students. This is also one of the things that I love to do on the campus. Many students now come to me and ask me that, sir, this is a problem. Sometimes they're real serious problems. This is something that I cannot handle because this is the beyond the scope of my expertise. I can motivate the students, I can give them life advice, I can give them everything. But when it comes to mental issues, a student is facing some mental issues because of their personal circumstances in their life, or if I feel that this student needs counseling, I recommend them to the institute counselor and also inform the counselor that I have recommended one or two students to you who will come to you. This gives me an opportunity to look at the life more closely, and understand everyone's situation very clearly. Other than this,
You also try to take motivation lectures for us, right? During our course.
yes, motivation is part of my teaching any day. So, if you are in class or there are students sitting in my class with varying energies, to have a good teaching, you need to be full energy tank when you go in the class. Irrespective of your personal situation, you have to be full of energy and motivate them. This is normally done. So motivation is part of my teaching, but sometimes, yes, for some students, I take motivational lectures also. I have been also invited by some institutes to motivate their employees and sometimes to motivate their students. So I love that. I, in fact, read a lot of personal management stuff in form of books. So that I like.
Read as well.
Well, as far as books are concerned, I purchase a lot of them. I have a good collection of personal management books at my home. I don't formally read them. I like a book, so I just purchase it. But I do refer to the books whenever I feel that I need some consultancy or guidance. I do refer to them. For example, I feel two books that I have regular as my companion is Bhagavad Gita by Swami Chinmayananda. Second one is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. And I feel that, everything, every kind of advice you need in life comes from these two books. And these are my favorite books. I keep guiding them. I actually studied Seven Habits of Highly Effective People completely, and I did not read it completely. In fact, way back when I was doing PhD, I joined a group which was called Study Circle, and that study circle we used to read this book collectively. One page we will sit down and we will read, and then we will discuss it, and that helped me internalize this book. And many of my principles in the life are based on Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Sometimes in life you get confused between what is right and what is more right, or sometimes what is wrong and what is more wrong. At that point of time, Bhagavad Gita helps. So, you have this Bhagavad Gita by Swami Chinmayananda. So, it has at the back end, there is an index that in what kind of situation you refer to which shalok. And I don't understand Sanskrit, but I understand the meaning of that shalok and try to put that shalok into my situation. So, that's it. Other than that, when I have long drives, I listen to podcasts by the same authors whose book I have purchased. So that helps me internalize their thought process, that what the author's thought process was.
Okay, what is the advice for a student of engineering background from your side?
Okay. The advice is not for engineering students, it's for any student, right? The advice is number one, that have your basics clear. Whatever subject you are studying, right? You should understand the basics of that subject very nicely, because world is changing very fast. Technology is changing very fast. Jobs are changing very fast. But all the jobs, all the technology revolves around particular basics, right? If your basics are very clear, then you are going to excel anywhere. This is one. Second is that keep pace with the changing technology. In my age, I belong to an age where I did not take any computer course. It came to me as, part of my life. But my elders, means the guys who were sitting in offices when I was studying, they were all made to learn computer. And they used, you have completed the computer course? Maine to kiya nahi, mujhko to aata nahi. For me, why the computer course? It's part of your life. Similarly, now what I find is world is changing very fast. New technologies are coming up. AI is coming up. Machine learning is coming up. Some time back, it was coding that was part of it. No, this is for engineers, but for others, even for painters, artists, music composers, learning AI is very important.
Yes.
This is the technology of today. If you are not AI literate, if you are not learning AI as on date, what will happen? You will be illiterate in the world in next 5-6 years. So keep pace with AI, use it and all. I can have a separate paid podcast with you that how we should look AI. Should we look AI as a threat or as an opportunity? We can have that podcast. In fact, we can have a panel discussion on that with 2-3 faculty people sitting there. So we should embrace AI. We should embrace the change which is going around in the world. There's so much of change going around in the world. We should embrace that yes, this is how the world is changing. We should not be scared of that. This is very important. And there's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And that book actually tells you that don't sit down and relax. It's an ever-changing world. You need to change with the changing times. So my quotation for that is the quotation that I have adopted in life. I don't know who gave that quotation. Change is the only constant in life. So this is very important. So I'll summarize it for you. Number one, basics should be clear. Embrace latest technology and latest change which is going around in the world, and understand that world is going to change. Change is the only constant. Embrace it.
So that's all. Thank you so much for the incredible insights you shared.
Let me have my professor look back on. Thank you, Bhavishya, for such an interesting interaction. It was really nice talking to you. Since this is my first podcast and this is for your audience, since this is my first podcast, you may find some part of it a bit happy kind of things. I'll myself watch into it and then try to improve that how I should be appearing in my next podcast whenever whosoever takes it. Thank you.
Bye bye.